Another day, another disaster for the Biden campaign. While Biden voters tend to keep their skeletons in their caskets, his family fights to keep their skeletons in their closets. With the Senate now tying his son to a Ukrainian human trafficking operation, will the media turn a blind eye, or will Hunter Biden finally shoot down Sleepy Joe's presidential dreams?
Never tell them who I am. Well, how dare I'm a man. 6 shooters in both my hands. I'm a cold-blooded brother, a real bad mother. Watch out, honey, here I am.
Boy, oh boy, things are getting very, very bad for the Biden campaign. And this might be the worst thing yet. We all know that Hunter Biden has his issues. He was addicted to crack cocaine. He was discharged from the military for using crack cocaine or regular cocaine, whichever it was. He has impregnated a stripper. He got caught with, I believe it was a cop's gun and badge, pretending to be a cop or something. I don't know the details on that, so don't quote me on that. But Hunter Biden, needless to say, is an absolute mess. And that has nothing to... And that's not even to say that he has engaged in many monetary deals with foreign countries, whether it's China or Ukraine. Well, this story takes us back to Ukraine, and we're starting to get a clearer picture of why the Democrats so fervently were pushing to impeach Donald Trump over the Ukraine, is because any investigation would have led back to the Bidens and everything that they have done there, whether it was the kickbacks under the table, or now, as we're seeing, Hunter Biden engaging in prostitution and human trafficking rings in the region. So, we have here from the New York Post, a Senate report links Hunter Biden to prostitution or human trafficking. So, Hunter Biden sent tens of thousands of dollars to people who appear to be involved in the sex industry, according to a report released Wednesday by Republicans in the U.S. Senate. Now, keep in mind, Hunter Biden is sending thousands of dollars. Meanwhile, he told a judge that he was absolutely broke and could not pay child support for his bastard child that he had, and I don't mean that in a derogatory sense, I mean it in its regular definitional sense. The bastard child that he had with a stripper, I believe it was a Washington, D.C. stripper, who was seeking child support payments, and he said that he couldn't make them. Meanwhile, he also had a $500,000 tax lien placed on him that he was able to clear up in a matter of 6 days. So the corruption and the use of the Biden name in order to gain certain favors or certain advantages is becoming a almost redundant theme in the Biden news cycle. So we have here, the report says unspecified records show that Biden has sent funds to non-resident alien women in the United States who are citizens of Russia and Ukraine and who have subsequently wired funds they have received from Hunter Biden to individuals located in Russia and Ukraine. It starts to make you wonder why they have, the Democrats have been trying to peg Russia and Ukraine to Donald Trump, as if Donald Trump has nefarious dealings in both of those countries. Meanwhile, everything that we're seeing from the Democrats show that it is them that absolutely have these ties to Russia and Ukraine. With Russia, of course, we have the Clintons and the Uranium One deal, selling 20% of America's uranium stocks to Russia, supposedly for pennies on the dollar, and with also a coincidental speech that Russia paid the Clinton Foundation $500,000 to give. So I guess that's the price for America to the Clintons for our nuclear uranium stocks is $500,000, and they'll sell out America. And then of course Ukraine, we had the whole Burisma thing, which has been talked about ad nauseum. So I don't feel like I need to really get into that right here. But the records also note that some of these transactions are linked to what appears to be... Oh, actually, you know what? Let me go back a second, because I missed a point that I wanted to make here, was that the funds were sent to non-resident alien women. So basically they were sent to Russian and Ukrainian women that are here in America. I don't know whether it's illegally. It doesn't say whether they're here illegally, but they are non-resident aliens. That would tend to make me think that this is definitely human trafficking, that these women were trafficked to America to be prostituted out. And Hunter Biden appears to be engaged in this ring. Now, to what level? I don't know. Whether he is actually engaged in the trafficking of the women, bringing them over here, that we need to absolutely look into. And what a time for Hunter Biden to be linked to human trafficking, as public consciousness of the evils of human trafficking and sex slavery are becoming rampant and widespread in the American consciousness. So, what a time. I mean, it almost feels like we're living in a simulation at this point. Everything that we have been encountering, it almost feels like it can't be real. Too many things that just happen that are just like, no. No, really? So, as human trafficking becomes a major, major issue in America, in fact, I believe there's about 20% of people, I could be making that stat up, I'm not sure. I think I heard that 21% of people say that the biggest reason that they're voting for Donald Trump is the human trafficking. Now, don't quote me on that statistic. I'm pulling it out of my memory, and I could be getting it mixed up with something else. But I do know that a massive amount of people are supporting Donald Trump because they know that he is the one that is going after these human trafficking rings and these child trafficking rings. Now, there's nothing that indicates these women were underage here. Again, wouldn't surprise me if it turns out that some of them were. We don't get any details on who these women were. So, before we jump the gun and make accusations, let's keep that in mind. So, the allegations are contained in a footnote of a section of the report that details potential criminal concerns and extortion threats involving extortion threats as well. So, that tends to make you think that if these threats were coming from Hunter Biden, that tends to make you think that he is maybe somehow involved in this human trafficking ring. Now, whether that relates back to a blackmail type scenario a la Jeffrey Epstein, I don't know. We only have preliminary information on this right now. So I'm hoping more is going to come out soon, and I will bring you all the news when it does come out. But the allegations are contained in a footnote to a section of the reports that details potential criminal concerns and extortion threats involving the son of Democratic presidential nominee and former Vice President Joe Biden and other members of his family. And, at this point, we have to essentially start looking at the Bidens as a crime family. And we've been doing that with the Clintons for a while now. The Clintons seem to operate purely as a crime family. It's almost like the mafia all grown up. I mean, you think the mafia had power back in New York in the 70s and 80s and prior to that. That is nothing compared to the power that the Clintons have, and they seem to run a complete criminal enterprise. But we also have here, other members of the Biden family. Some just to break away from that story for a second, Biden's brother is facing fraud allegation, used family ties to advance business interests. And this is his brother James. So a new report reveals problems and allegations of possible fraud involving former Vice President Joe Biden's brother James, and the latest instance of the Democratic primary frontrunner's family members' dealings drawing scrutiny amid his presidential bid. According to Politico, James's business with medical companies, including AmeriCorps Health, has led to allegations that he potentially engaged in fraud and traded on his brother's name by claiming that Joe was interested in the venture and the family name could provide opportunities. Now, he's not the only brother. Also, his brother Frank has apparently been leveraging the Biden name in order to gain for business gains. And apparently, I think it was Frank that was actually the one that bought an island that was near Epstein Island. It was called, he didn't buy an island. He bought a plot of land on an island near, might have been James, but I think it was Frank. It's hard to keep him straight. But I think it was called Water Island, and it was about 12 miles away from Little St. James Island, Epstein Island. And he bought a plot of land on there, and then somehow sold parts of it. But it was really weird, and I forget all the details. And I'm not to say that that's to link it to Little St. James, but it was curious to say the least. So we have seen that the Bidens have, Biden's brothers have continuously leveraged the Biden name for potential gain, and I believe Frank was also leveraging his name for federal contracts, which goes to a broader issue of corruption in government. Whether they're using taxpayer dollars to actually gain from the Biden name. That would not be good. But back to the Hunter Biden story. The video also cites extensive public reporting concerning Hunter Biden's alleged involvement with prostitution services. That comes as no surprise. I mean, we know that he knocked up a DC stripper that he then refused to pay child support for. And we know about his issues with drugs. I mean, for most people, strippers and blow is a funny joke, but for Hunter Biden, it seems to be a lifestyle. So, yeah. I mean, he seems like a real cretin. And records on file with the committees do not directly confirm or refute these individual reports. However, they do confirm that Hunter Biden sent thousands of dollars to individuals who have either, 1, been involved in transactions consistent with possible human trafficking, 2, an association with the adult entertainment industry, or 3, potential association with prostitution. So all of the individuals have been tied to things like this, and Hunter Biden has been sending money through the women, through the prostitutes that were sent out here, which does tend to comport with the idea that they have been trafficked and are being pimped here in America. That, you know, you pay the woman and the woman takes the money to the pimp. That tends to be how things go. So if he's giving them money and then they're sending money back, you have to imagine that. I mean, and we also have to realize, and we have to mature our understanding of how the sex industry works, because, and I've got another story that's going to be coming out tomorrow or later about more issues regarding the sex trade and the sex industry and certain prominent positions that advocates for that are now getting. I'm not going to get into that just yet. I'm going to save that for later, so tune back in for that. But we need to mature our understanding of sex work as primarily being slavery. It is mostly run by human slavers. Human traffickers and sex slavers. So a spokesman for the Biden campaign didn't immediately respond to a request for comment at these specific allegations, but earlier accused Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee Chairman Ron Johnson, whose staffers helped prepare the report, of diverting attention from President Trump's catastrophically botched handling of COVID-19 pandemic. Give that a rest. Nobody cares about COVID anymore. It comes out that your son is likely tied to human trafficking, and your response is that is just diverting attention away from what has become a non-issue, what has become an issue that the American people are just over. COVID is done. And if your son is engaged in human trafficking, sex slavery, that is not diverting attention away from COVID. What are we supposed to do? Just constantly be sitting there reading COVID stats? What do you mean diverting attention away from COVID? We have the ability to take in more than one source of news. This is them completely deflecting and suspiciously diverting our attention away from what Hunter Biden is engaged in. So, I don't know. We need to get more information on this. This is very, very bad. Very, very bad for the Biden camp. And I think at some point we're going to have to demand a legitimate response instead of saying, well, this is just a distraction from COVID. No. Sex slavery and human trafficking is not a distraction from a disease with a 99.8% survival rate. Anyways, guys, that's the video. Go ahead and hit the thumbs up button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll be breaking more news on this as it comes out. Also, hit that notification bell, because if you don't, you're probably not going to know when I put out those videos, because we all know it's voices like mine that big tech takes out back and old yellers. So, also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Parler at Ram Thorburn. Also now on Minds and Pilled.net, so you can look me up at Ram Thorburn on there as well. Also, I told you guys about the news regarding YouTube and how a lot of conservative commentators might essentially be getting the boot off of YouTube. So I'm also on BitChute and Rumble, so make sure you look me up on there as well. For my video content, subscribe to me on there. I'm still going to make YouTube my primary distribution platform until I finally get the boot, because it is the one that I actually have a following on, small as it may be. Also, there are links to my Subscribestar, Patreon, and PayPal down in the description below if you're interested in helping out this channel. I actually could use some new equipment. My webcam is kind of garbage. It's just built into the computer. I could use some additional things. I have had a couple donations, which I thank you guys very, very much for. But yeah, that's it. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.